Rizal's letter to young women in Malolos. When the Spaniards came into the Philippines, they brought with them their partial values about women, which eventually diffused into Philippine culture. The women during the Spanish period were tied to the house, and their roles were confined exclusive up to housekeeping and child rearing. On the other hand, there was the idea that men should be the provider of the family and protector of the woman. Women were also taught to be compliant to elders and always submissive to males. They were oriented to remain incorruptible until marriage and to focus on building skills that would make them going daughters, housewives, mothers, and servants of God. Women were even barred from participating in political undertakings because it was considered a man's work. Filipinos were familiarized to a religious and partial system of education, which emphasized the domestic value that women were the property of men. This infiltration of Spanish culture into Philippine norms and behavior as in evidence of Pedro social. In the second half of the 19th century, a group of young women in Malolos, Bulacan participated in a peaceful movement for education reforms. This remarkable event showed the aptitude of these women for political and social reforms. The authorities came up with education policies that were discriminatory against women who wanted to pursue higher education. The women at Malolos struggled to disprove the principle that women and destined to be homemakers and demonstrate that women are far with men in other fields of endeavors. The effort of the women in Malolos is recognized as one of the most important events that contributed to the development of feminist movement in the country. This group of young women personally handed their letter of petition addressed to Governor General Valeriano to allow them to put up a night school where they can study the Spanish language under Teodoro Sandico. Their action received diverse reactions from the sectors and the reformists because it was viewed as protest against the political power of the period. The 20 young women, majority of whom were related to each other by blood of affinity, were members of the former Jutising clans of Malolos. The Tucsons, the Tantocos, the Reyes, and the Santoses. Although these women were raised by well-to-do families and enjoy a life of luxury and opted to be educated rather than to be contented with what society expected from them. First, the education reform of 1863, education was left entirely in the hands of first workers of the persons. The responsibility of educating the natives belonged to the first trust was more of religious education. Students were taught to read the alphabet and syllables and studies songs and music and basic arithmetic. Education for males was not the same with males. Education was more a privilege than a right. Daughter of well-to-go the families were taught reading, writing, arithmetic, religion, and legal benefit not enjoyed by daughters of Indians. Formal training beyond the primary grades was generally and a mere privilege for the most part of the Spanish period. The majority of secondary and vocational school as well as language were exclusively for males. The royal decrees of 1860 made primary instruction compulsory to all native and Chinese children between the age of 7-12. It ordered the opening of a primary school for boys and another for girls for each town. One important aim of the decree was to teach Spanish to the populace, and although this move was to improve the first stage of education in the country, it failed due to the milling of in the state where lack of school building and teachers were also point of major handicrafts of this program to be successful. There were only few teachers who knew Spanish, but they received only modest salaries. The women of Malolos desired to learn the Spanish language because it was language of politics and society. They found an ally in the person of Teodoro Sandico, who arrived in Malolos in 1888. Sandico supported the aspiration of the women and offered to teach them the language, but it would be done secretly for the provided that teaching Spanish to the natives and to mestizos, it would lessen their influence. Then government communicated directly with the who knew both the Spanish and the native language. It would be better of the live the natives and mestizos ignorant of the Spanish language, and so there made it will not be by the liberality, since most books were written in Spanish. Knowledge would make them crave for freedom and demand up to human rights, which were demanded due to Spanish rule and power of the church. Sandico by the time was secretly teaching Spanish language to adults, but he wanted to make it legal. He requested to the provincial governor of Bulacan sometimes to grant the opening on night school without the expense of the government. However, it was disapproved because Felipe Garcia, the curate of Malolos, prepared supported Sandico's proposal, rose the threat the government. Their proposal was rejected. Sandico and the women of Malolos remained positive that their desire to put up a night school would be approved anytime soon. After learning that the highest official of the land would be Malolos on December 12, 1888, Sandico prepared a letter in Spanish and requested the women to sign and present the letter to Weyler, 20 of.
The request of the woman did not get the approval of the Governor-General because the parish priest, Fray Garcia, went up against it. Although disheartened, the woman did not give up. With the support of the reformists Doroteo Cortes and the Maestra Guadalupe Reyes, the woman continued to lobby for the school traveling between Malolos and Manila to convince the Governor-General to allow the request. Luckily, this young woman triumphed in the end in February 1889 on the conditions that the woman would finance their schooling. The teacher would be Guadalupe Reyes, and the classes held in the daytime, not at night. Although they did not get everything they asked for, the woman proceeded to open their school at the house of one of their group, Rufina T. Reyes, first cousin of Elise and Juana. The schooling, however, was cut short when Sandico was accused in late April 1889 by the church authorities of spreading teachings against morality and of eating meat on days of abstinence during the Holy Week of 1889. On May 13, 1889, the Gobernador Dorcilio Castro and the Alferez Carlos Peñuelos closed down Sandico School of Primary and Secondary Instruction. When Sandico's School of Primary and Secondary Instruction When Sandico left for Spain, the school where the women of Malolos were attending had to close because of the pressure from the authorities. The school operated for only 3 months. The establishment of school, out of the enduring efforts of the women to be educated in Spanish, was commended by several newspapers. Graciano Lopez Jaina, in the column Ecos de Ultramar, praised the women because of their courage to present themselves to the Governor General, an action considered bold that time. Right after the article of Lopez Jaina was published in La Solidaridad, Marcelo H. del Pilar wrote from Barcelona to Jose Rizal in Madrid on February 17, 1889, requesting Rizal to write them a letter in Tagalog commending the bravery of the woman and with hopes that this valiant struggle against friar hegemony and the affairs of the Filipino will enthuse all compatriots. Hence, Rizal sent Del Pilar on February 22, 1889, the letter written in Tagalog for transmittal to the 20 young women of Malolos. The message conveyed to the young women of Malolos centered on salient points such as the denunciation of the abuse of the friars in exercising their spiritual authority bestowed upon them by the Church. Traits Filipino mothers must have. Duties and obligations of Filipino mothers to their children. Function and errands of a wife to her husband. And guidance to young women on their choice of a lifetime partner. Rizal also expressed his philosophy of freedom and independence that he believed was the key to the emancipation of humankind from slavery, and the necessity for education as the fundamental source of liberation. In the letter, Rizal initiated his great desire for Filipino women to enjoy the privilege in education along with men. Moreover, he appealed to women to be heedful of their rights and not to be docile towards men in injustice forced upon them. Men and women are born equal. God did not create men and women to be slaves, nor did he embellish them with reason only to be blinded by others. Perhaps having experienced firsthand the warmth of his mother's love, he defined in his letter and obligations and roles of the Filipino mother to their children. For Rizal, the youth is a flower bed that is to bear fruit and must accumulate wealth for its descendants. The mother must raise her children according to the image of God and orient the mind towards pleasant ideas. A mother must teach her children to prefer death with honor to life with dishonor. Mothers should inculcate the following values to their children: love of honor, sincere and firm character, clear mind, clear conduct, noble action, love for one's fellow men, and respect God. Even patriotic in his views, he warned that the country will never be free and flourishing as long as the children and the woman remain ignorant. With this, the education of the children should not be limited to religious activities. He stressed obedience and reason as the highest virtues that one must possess. The School of the Women of Malolos was closed down in May 1889, but their aspiration did not end. These women served their countrymen by supporting the cause of the revolution against Spain. Some of them became members of the National Red Cross, while others became founding members of the Malolos Committee of the Asociación Feminista de Filipinas in 1906, a national women's organization aimed at improving the welfare of women in all classes. It can be said that the women of Malolos were the forerunners of the feminist movement in the country for championing the cause of women's right to education and equal rights regardless of gender.